It's time for a little Funky Friday. From their funky hidden headquarters, your hosts, Keith and Gary. Not Jake.
Hey,
we're only 50 minutes late. Sorry, guys.
You know what? Life happens, and unfortunately, this is one of those days that life kind of happened. So, yes.
Uh-oh, we're
Friday. Uh-oh. Hey, Tom. Hey, Tom. Why don't you consider coming on? It's a live free day. You can talk about anything, and I know you've got a lot of opinions, my friend. I'm serious. You've got a lot of opinions. Then again, you know, that's really how I got involved in all this. I can just go ahead and blame Tom. It was Tom's fault. Between Tom and a few other people I can point fingers out, that got me behind the mic.
Andre.
And then we can go ahead and send him a link.
If you got it, Martini, I'm
Tom.
going to do it.
Oh, no. Or maybe, I don't know, if any of you can handle that for me, please.
I got it.
Take a breath, Martin. Anyway, first and foremost, just let me say hello, good afternoon, and welcome to TGIF, the show that helps to answer the question that if you gave a guy like me a mic and the opportunity to speak, how badly could I embarrass myself? We're about to find out. Anyway, I hope everybody's Friday's going really well. I know mine is all right. And like I've been saying since the beginning, I really, really, really appreciate all of the texts that I get, the people that reach out and contact me and heap praise on what we do. I just got to say that I'm only as good as the people around me, and I got some really, really good people around me. One of whom is John, another is Martin, and of course, and then there's our good buddy and guide Gary, who is not with us today. He's a little, he's taking some time, taking some personal time. So you got me. So hopefully I don't mess this up too badly.
Oh, you'll be fine. You're the guy that knows everything. So.
No. I know enough to get myself in trouble.
You're in the banner of the channel, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. This is half your show.
Oh. Well, there is that. Look, first and foremost, let me just say this. I think we avoided the giant robot story about Doctor Who. As of right now, I don't think anybody knows anything. And the story that was reported about Doctor Who being delayed, I have no idea where that's coming from. They very well could be telling the truth, but I wasn't able to find anything to substantiate giant freaking robot story at this point. And I haven't seen anything to make me think that there are going to be any major delays. So until I can actually find something, or somebody can come in here and that's got anything, any kind of proof one way or the other, all we can say is giant freaking robot has a story. It's about Doctor Who. It's looking like it's delayed for now. As far as to the start of the series, it still looks like the specials are still scheduled to come out when they were originally scheduled. And yeah, so I'm still kind of curious about Doctor Who, even after everything that's happened. And I hope the return of Russell T Davies at least will give us some really, really good scripts. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think as long as they can keep the interference to a minimum, because we don't have any hope of them not interfering. As long as they keep the interference to the minimum, I think Russell T Davies can bring back Doctor Who. His writing is good enough that he could do that. But it depends on the upper management interference.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I think that's the era that we're living in. You know, to a certain extent, I can understand where they want to go with some of this. In so much as that you have a lot of money on the line, you want to make sure that you're getting the most for the money that you spend. But as we've all have been learning, watching Valiant Renegade, WDW Pro, of course, our big brothers over at Midnight's Edge, there's just a lot of freaky, dumb stuff going on right now. And there's a lot of money, more money than what should be, that's being spent basically giving us entertainment that's borderline not fit for human consumption. So
we have to address this. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah,
no, Kingsboard. He's very much with us still.
Yeah, he's alive. He is alive.
He's just dealing with some health issues right now.
And still being a dick, so.
Yeah. We saw him and spoke to him today, so we know it's not an AI.
It's definitely not an AI.
Yeah.
I don't think
Christian DeLorme is here.
Well, he's an AI, as in he's an asshole intelligence.
Oops. Look,
ladies and gentlemen, the man himself, our big brother, Mr. Tom Connors.
Big brother, which is funny because I think you guys are older than me, but yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know.
I am older.
How's everybody doing?
I'm doing good. I saw you laying the smackdown on that guy just a few seconds ago.
Oh, on Twitter, I'm always doing that, dealing with shit.
Yeah.
So how's everybody doing today?
Well, I think we're doing all right. I after my big blow up yesterday, the rants that I had about comic book films and everything else, which is now normal. It seems to be a normal rant now. I think I'm doing all right. I'm doing a lot better than most people with Disney stock.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Some more than others.
Hey, look, it's a mess of their own making. And as bad as I feel for some people, I think I could make a lot of money selling popcorn to the upcoming events that are going to follow after all of this. And it seems like, Tom, you've been following a lot of this for quite a while.
Well, I'm kind of on the sideline of it, but yeah, like it's kind of Andre's purview and some of the other guys we hang out with on the channel there. But things are getting dicey over at Disney, let's say.
Yeah.
Looking at possible criminal investigations and other business. Wow. That Reedy Creek thing is quickly becoming a hornet's nest. I think they're wishing they never would have kicked in the first place.
Oh my goodness!
I'm just waiting for that Sarbanes-Oxley Act violation to hit them, because they violated that.
I gotta say, I'm on the one hand, I'm not surprised. But on the other hand, wow, a lot has happened in a year. A year ago, we still had who I considered to be the nicer of the two Bobs. Running Disney, trying to get stuff done, trying to fix all the messes, put out the fires. and he gets ambushed, and he brings back. Well, they bring back Iger. He comes back in, and wow, oh geez, I can't believe it. I'm sitting here and I still can't believe it. You know, there was a time I really, really, really dug Iger because I liked some of the things he was doing, but now that I'm seeing all of this, of course, I began to lose faith a little while back ago, but you know,
Yeah.
I just can't. Wow, this is a near. This is a near. Man, I can't even come up with the right words for it. It's a near complete collapse for this company in a way.
Yeah.
About as badly as the MCU.
As soon as the criminal indictments come out, that's going to be it for them. They'll have to do something. They'll I don't know if you remember what happened when Enron did its thing and cooked its books. That
I
was
remember
in
that
2001, and that created a whole response in the government, and they created the SOX Act, which provides allows the government to charge companies criminally for creative bookkeeping, shall we say? And
that's go ahead.
Yeah, I know I have to know about that kind of stuff, even though I'm not in finance, because that is part of IT governance. Because there's a whole section on how data needs to be kept and stuff like that. I don't want to bore you with it, but that's why I know about that. There's a couple of Sarbanes-Oxley, yep, and there's also like there's a few others that they would have that they could be crossing that deal with what you can give as gifts versus bonuses. And it's just I got a feeling this is going to turn into an ugly mess, and we may see Disney restructure after this. Now, granted, I'm not Valiant Renegade or WDW Pro, but that's just what I see from my little corner.
Wow.
In the words of the great Spock, fascinating.
Yep, but I don't think that. I don't know. And with these lawsuits that they're dealing with, as soon as they get in discovery mode, that's stuff that's going to come out in discovery, unless they violate the discovery process, is probably going to be what helps sink them.
Hello, Laszlo.
Hello, Laszlo.
Yeah.
Panaflex.
Hello, Laszlo.
You know what? This is great. It's all happening live as we speak, and I'm telling you, this is the best kind of reality TV in a way. One way or another, a lot of this stuff's going to get taken care of. You know,
Schadenfreude channel.
Schadenfreude. Yeah, it's all about the Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
We'll be honest about it. We take great enjoyment from certain corporate organizations and the pitfalls that they may soon suffer.
First of all, hello to everyone that has joined us again.
Yeah.
Wow. And we have 10 viewers. Let's see if we can get ourselves to 50 before our show is over today.
That'd be awesome.
That would be fantastic. So go ahead and hit that like button.
Share the stream out on your favorite social media platform.
And always remember to have your animals spayed or oh, wait a minute. Wrong
Oh,
message.
wrong.
Hold on.
Wrong
Wrong one.
I didn't know you were going to morph into Bob Barker there.
Oh, wow.
Our key.
And if you're a viewer that hasn't subscribed, please click that subscribe button and click that icon, and you'll get a notification whenever we go live or upload a video.
There you go. At least today, bring a friend with you. If you're going to come on and interact on the show, bring a friend with you.
It's Bring a Friend Day.
Right? Anyway, let's get back to what we were discussing before the show today, which was we were talking about a certain Disney Plus series.
Oh,
so
I gotta go then.
You haven't seen it yet?
I haven't seen it. I got zero fucks to give about Ahsoka. I do not care.
You know what, Tom?
Care.
I'm right there with you. I haven't seen it. I don't think I'm going to see it.
Look, you have a character that is popular among a niche of a niche group, and they are treating her like she is the end all be all. The chance for any good Star Wars went out the window with Gina Carano and Dave Filoni kind of taking over at this point. It's done. Put a cork in it.
But I have to agree. I'm not seeing anything that makes me excited about Filoni doing anything in the positive for Star Wars. So
I'm more of a Jar Jar Binks fan. This is true. And I can't stand Jar Jar Binks.
I would be a Jar Jar Binks fan if they would have made that fan theory real, instead of turn him into a homeless clown in that book, which is canon to the Disney Star Wars.
You know what? They had to throw an entire planet at Chewbacca. So that was extended universe. So they had to drop an entire moon on Chewbacca to kill him off. That sucks.
But
you know what?
Yeah,
that's fine. That's A-okay. You know, we're living in a world where Lucasfilm can basically run Star Wars into the ground along with Indiana Jones and Willow.
Yeah.
And you can also have, in our world, we're looking at Star Trek Discovery going bye-bye.
Finally.
And still and still a lot of us not feeling that is enough. You know, I mean, I hate to be greedy. I'm glad it's going bye-bye. I hate to be greedy. But for any of you out there that enjoy Strange New Worlds, I'm glad you do.
Yeah.
But
I don't want to crap on anybody's fandom about what they like.
Yeah, harsh their mellow.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I kind of liked Ahsoka. I'm a fan of the character. I was a fan of the character from the cartoons. But I understand it's not good Star Wars. Doesn't mean I can't enjoy it, but it's not good Star Wars.
That sets you ahead of a lot of fans of Kurtzman Trek. You know,
yeah,
right?
Well, I'm self-aware. You got to remember, I'm the guy that loves bad movies. I'm the guy that collects Asylum movies, for goodness sake.
Look, all I can say is Strange New Worlds, I'm glad there's people watching it, but that's still not good Trek. That's still not good Trek.
All roads lead to Star Trek.
You better believe it.
Before Kingsport says it.
Yeah.
You stolen his tagline. How dare you?
Yeah. Well, before we get too much into the Star Trek stuff, going back to Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
It comes out on, digital Tuesday is the diaper of dysentery. Indiana Jones you can purchase it or rent it starting Tuesday.
You know what?
Yeah, I think
I will.
think
I will
won't.
run. I will run right out and forget all about it.
I already
I've
saw
not
it.
seen it.
I saw it because the reason why I saw it is I got
You
to
hate
if
yourself that much?
if I'm going to talk about something, I want to at least watch it.
You're a glutton
Fair
for
enough.
punishment.
Ariel, come on.
Well, you're right. If you're going to talk about something either good or bad, then you have to watch it.
Oh no, Ariel Ballet. Really?
Oh no,
John, you getting hammered, man.
Yeah, I am. That's fine. That's fine. As long as you enjoy watching, I don't care. You can crack all the jokes you want.
oh man.
You know, I gotta say, first of all, John, you're right. You know, you did go see it. You went and saw it in the theater the way it was meant to be seen, and you gave the filmmakers, you gave Aunt Kathy, you gave Lucasfilm, you gave Harrison and the cast the opportunity to entertain you, and
They
the
failed.
opportunity
They failed.
on the match goal.
I liked like the first 20 minutes of it, and then after that, it's all Fleabag, and I'm like, no, this is not the movie I want to see.
you know what? That's fine. I'm glad that they made the movie they wanted to make.
I didn't even like the first 20 minutes. That felt fake as hell to me.
Wow.
And it almost felt like an insult because you're like, you could have just give us a new movie like this instead of doing what you're doing after that. I mean, yes, I get what you guys are saying. There's stuff in that first 20 minutes or whatever there that feels more Indiana Jones than anything else in the movie, but it still feels generic Indy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
you're
can see
introducing
where
a
it's coming from.
character who really has no bearing on the weight of the history of Indiana Jones, and the only reason you're introducing him is so you can tie this new character into that. And if you need a 20-minute intro to tell me how important this character is, maybe you should have thought it through better. Like, everybody initially thought she was going to be Marcus's daughter,
Yeah,
or granddaughter, and everybody still thought that was a dumb idea. At least in that
Mhm.
sense, you wouldn't have had to go through the whole fucking spiel of who her parents were and whatnot to why she matters to Indiana Jones. Maybe, just maybe, had you grabbed, Ki-Hu Kwan, just as he's on the verge of winning an Oscar and putting him in her place, you don't even really have to change much of the script at the end of the day. I still wouldn't have made it about time travel. But really,
No.
if you would, because it almost would make sense that, like, let's just say for the sake of argument, because, all of a sudden he has Short Round and then he doesn't, because people forget that's a prequel because of the chronology that it happens. Like,
Yeah.
what happened to Short Round? Well, you could have it that he dumped Short Round off at some boys' home or something like that, and then he grew up resenting Indy for that, and then so he comes to show up to steal this thing like she did, but then in the process of that, him and Indy have kind of like a reunion and a coming of understanding to where, like, you even had that other proto Short Round in that kid that was there, Toby or Timmy or whatever fuck his name was.
Come on.
Like, I think it was Toby actually or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's like, if all you had to do was have like Toby be his assistant or whatever, kind of like Short Round was Indy's, and Toby gets hurt. And then Short Round realizes, oh shit, this is why Indy put me in that home years ago. They have their makeup, and then you have this great adventure for the last half hour of these three guys just having a generational thing happening. Even though they're not blood relatives, Short Round was always more of Indy's son in our eyes than Mutt ever was. And that's another thing. The way they did Mutt was dirty as fuck. Sure, we didn't necessarily like him as a character, but that doesn't mean you got to do that to him off screen. That is one of the most disrespectful things. You literally poochied the character. And so you could just make Harrison Ford go through the whole movie going, oh, I suck as a dad. Oh, I suck. I just want to die.
I'm going to sit here in my underwear and drink beer and
I'm
watch
just going
TV.
to stay here and die.
Wow. First of all, Tom Connors, everybody. He just laid it right out there.
Yep.
He laid it right out there. And I got to say, what he just double what he just said.
Now, I have
agree.
a question. Tom.
Yeah.
if they did an Adventures of Short Round movie now, do you think that would get anybody back?
I don't think anybody care, but you could. It might. But it almost feels cheap at this point. It's like you should have done it in this movie. Because if anybody was going to be set up to take over his mantle, I think nobody, and I can't think of one person, even those who didn't care for Temple of Doom, who wouldn't be like, yeah, Short Round deserves the mantle, right? Like, I could see that. Like, what's his last name? You know, who knows? The Adventures of Short Round Jones. It doesn't matter, does it? Right?
No.
Like, at the end of the day, like, I could accept that because that's a character that we knew. We seen him as a kid. You know, he had an attachment to Indy. You maybe you don't even have to make it to where he's mad at Indy or anything like that. You just have it to where that's the only person Indy can trust right now, right? You know, you just have a thing where he's like, I need your help, kid, and you're the only one I can trust. You know, like we all know, just your head, just the whole movie just played out in your head right now. You know, it's what you would have wanted to see. Right?
Yeah. Tom, you just sold me on a movie. You just sold me on that movie. That's the movie I want to see. I would pay money to see that.
And Short Round already has his own gimmick. We've seen him doing karate and shit. And Ki-Hu Kwan did it again in fucking Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
Yep.
You just have him come in basically being the kung fu version of Indiana Jones. What's wrong with that? So instead of punching guys, he kicks them. Instead of having a whip, once in a while he has a sword or a pair of nunchucks or something. What's wrong with that?
Not a thing.
And it's
not
diverse.
at all.
Yep. That's printing money, but they don't care about that.
No, obviously not. You know, I mean, again, look, I said it before the other day and I'll say it again. It's one of many things that Disney could easily do now. I'm not saying it would have an instant effect or bring people in immediately, but it would have an effect. Okay? They could turn around and fix the MCU tomorrow.
Well, Everything Everywhere All at Once reminded everybody about how much they liked him.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. I mean, sure, he's playing basically the same character in both Goonies and Indiana Jones. Don't get me wrong, but it's just his little. He was a kid at that time. That's the shtick he had. Is who his real name? Well, if that's the case, FKHC 2005. Instead of at the end of that movie, I would literally have him go when somebody goes, "Well, what's your name, kid?" It's Short Round. What's your last name? Jones. And just give a nod to Indy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, kind of a thing. Like, yeah.
That would be fantastic. Again, you're killing me with this because that I want to see that. That's what I want to see. Oh my!
And Ariel, the reason why Mutt wasn't popular was twofold. One, the actor isn't very popular. He went kind of off the deep end, and another thing, he wasn't written well.
Well, there's a third part to that too, Das Wolf. And it was also that we weren't ready for Indy to pass on the mantle yet. People forget that Crystal Skull came out at a time where it's still plausible and they still had enough action sequences in that where, you know, this movie makes that one look palatable now. Mm-hmm. You know? And it's like at that point, we weren't quite ready for him to hand off and the sad part is, had Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull been good and it had been more popular, we would have got a whole nother Indiana Jones trilogy. That was George's whole plan. Mm-hmm. Like he was going to move on from the prequels to Indiana Jones again, just like he did in the 80s. It was all like a cyclical plan. But when that didn't turn out the way he wanted it to, and he got the same reaction to that he pretty much did the prequels, he's like, fuck it, I can't do nothing right. You know, like, and he just sat there looking sad, eating spaghetti and drinking Diet Pepsi. So,
oh man.
Fuck you guys, I'm going to sell it all to Disney.
Disney just, they found a way of really just ruining all of it. You know, I mean, I hate to be the guy that makes it seem so simple, but from a creative end of it, I would take a rest from a lot of the characters that they've unveiled with Star Wars right now. I would still do the 1313 game, but I'd do it as a major project. And I would.
Oh, you're talking about Eclipse?
Yeah.
That looks good.
I would do that. And I would rebuild interest in Star Wars by taking it, basically doing what they were attempting to do with The Mandalorian with a different set of characters. Because even The Mandalorian now has become sort of tainted. Everything's gotten kind of difficult. But if you remember back when The Mandalorian premiered, everything was simple. The story was simple. It's been a few years after Return of the Jedi. We're going to start this whole tale out far away from where we know, with a character we really don't know. We were all there for that. Now they've made things so difficult. We know a lot more now. And Gina Carano, man.
Yeah, Gina Carano.
That was just a big misstep to get rid of her.
It was. But that's what happens when you feel you have to bow to a certain ideology that the majority of the world doesn't follow.
But
you listen to a screaming faction on Twitter that is such a minority that it's ridiculous.
I think that things have gotten a little out of control where Disney is concerned, in terms of where they have Lucasfilm, where they have Marvel, and where they have Pixar. But I really don't think it's as difficult as it would seem to correct a lot of their mistakes. Although, personally, I still ascribe to the idea that with Marvel, really, you're just going to have to reboot the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's no sense trying to spend money trying to fix where Marvel is right now. I think some stuff could still be done with Star Wars to help guide it the right direction. Although it's not like I'm saying that we could take The Mandalorian and fix it. I don't think you could even take Ahsoka and fix it. You can't even take the sequel trilogy and fix it.
Oh, there's nothing to fix there. It's all garbage. Just
you just go a different direction and introduce something else. Marvel, on the other hand, the only way you're going to be able to fix that is just to reboot it.
Yeah.
Because it's a mess the way that it is. And you're not going to make anything better. There are all these comics, decades worth of comics. You go ahead, you get rid of what is
That's
this?
Gary. Tell him quit being a jerk.
Yell at me. Go ahead.
Gary, call and tell him I said he's a jerk.
Oh, okay. But you go ahead.
I'm here because I knew Gary was dealing with shit, so I thought I'd pop in anyway.
Well, thank you. But I think if you go through and you just begin again, you figure out what characters you want to bring back, and you just start from there. Look, for those that want to see more female heroes, let me let you in on a little something. If you're not familiar with Marvel Comics, there are a lot of female heroes that got passed by in the effort
well, the other
to try
problem
to just...
I think here is this kind of... We had a conversation about this sort of with Soka earlier, and I had a similar conversation about Blue Beetle. The bigger problem is, especially with Blue Beetle, because Blue Beetle seems to be playing very well to its demographic audience, like the demographic that they technically made it for, the Latino audience. It's playing very well with, but nobody else is seeing it, and it's not really resonating with anybody else. That would be fine and dandy had they not spent $125 million on the movie. Same thing for Ahsoka. As I said before, it's a niche of a niche audience. Could you possibly bring in more people? Sure. But at that same time, you cannot be budgeting this show like you did for a Star Wars movie. Okay?
Yeah.
You can't, and the same thing goes for Marvel, right? So there's one side of it is they need to look, it's not that anybody's saying don't make Captain Marvel or don't make Miss Marvel or don't make Ahsoka or don't make any of these things like Blue Beetle that are demographically driven. But what you cannot do is spend that kind of freaking money on it anymore and expect it to play. This was the problem with Bros, right? Regardless of the movie's subtext, of the movie's context, of the movie's whatever it's about, Point being, they spent too much on it. And really, Bros could have made money if it only been $1 million or $2 million indie comedy like it should have been. Right?
Yep.
That's what I'm getting at here. Is instead of Ahsoka being a $150, $200 million show, it should have been a $50 million show. Then it actually looks like we're actually doing good because we only spent $50 million on this show and it's got an audience for it. And it's gaining a few audience members in the meantime. That's great. Same thing with the Marvels. If you had been able to make the Marvels for $80 million, then maybe you'll make your money back. The problem is they have spent $250 million on the Marvels. Granted, Captain Marvel made $1 million, but I feel like those numbers are padded by a number of things. And I think that nobody is going to go see the Marvels, and that's why they push this thing back, because they know that, and they're going to try the Barbie campaign with this thing. Mark my words, as soon as they start re-advertising the Marvels again, the advertisements are going to be pink and purple, and they're going to have all the girl fun power things you can see in it, because they're going to try and cash in on that craze right now, because they never learn the proper lessons. They always learn the wrong lessons, and they went back to more reshoots, so now that movie probably costs $300 million. But anyway, this is where we're at. They're spending too much money on these things that used to be made for niche audiences. Like John, I think you brought up earlier, you collect Asylum films.
Yeah.
Asylum films are made for next to nothing. And 9 times out of 10, they're made directly for one type of audience and one type of audience only.
That would
because they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, they know who they are.
They know who they're catering to. Exactly. They're not trying to go above and beyond that. And if it does, great. If they get a John Wick, I'm not saying Asylum would, but I'm just saying, if you want to go spend $50-60 million on a movie, great. If you make a John Wick, fucking awesome.
Well, they did. They kind of did when they came out with Sharknado. You
got that point. Yeah, that's true for them. That's their bread and butter. Yeah.
Didn't need 30 sequels, but
But those sequels cost next to nothing, and Sci-Fi keeps asking for them, so they're just cashing in. Fuck it.
You're printing money to a certain extent.
Yeah.
It's
but
helping
they know the
involved.
audience they're catering to, and they're not going to spend $200 million on a Sharknado movie. They know what they're doing in that sense. They're not going to spend. Oh, maybe if we spend $200 million, $1 billion worth, the audience is going to show up. That's not how this fucking works.
Nope.
That's right.
Guardians of the Galaxy is an anomaly too. Like them kind of things, you can't rely on that. Sorry, you were going to say something, John.
Oh yeah, Asylum is on the Go-Go Boys template.
And that worked as long as they didn't get too far ahead of themselves. See, that was the problem, is they got so deep into what they were doing, and you had other outside influences coming into that fray. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. That or New Line Cinema is a better example, because Bob Shea was really good about pre-selling everything. We got a really great story on our interview with him where he talks about, Ninja Turtles and Lord of the Rings are very similar stories, but Lord of the Rings is the funner one because he really gets to stick it to the Weinsteins in that one. Because Peter Jackson was making Lord of the Rings, and the Weinsteins were one of the producers. They still are listed as one of the producers on the film if you watch it, but they aren't as much a producer as Bob Shea because he kind of took over. But that's because they didn't want to give him the money to make the movies that he wanted. In fact, he was going to only make 2 movies. So he went into few different places to pitch to get, some financiers to hop in on the picture. And he got to New Line, and Bob Shea listened to his pitch, and he stops in mid pitch. He goes, wait, hold up, time out. He goes, what did you just say? He goes, well, we're planning on shooting both movies at once. He's like, what do you mean both? Isn't it 3 books? He's like, yeah, but the Harvey and Bob don't want to make 3 movies. He's like, well, fuck that. We're making 3 movies. It's 3 books. It's 3 movies.
Hello.
I think we lost Keith there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's like,
wow.
We're going to make this 3 movies. And he went and pre-sold all the foreign rights. So even though everybody was sitting there freaking out at New Line Cinema going, you're going to bankrupt the company. You're going to bankrupt the company. You can't shoot 3 movies before you put one of them out. What are you doing? He's like, calm the fuck down. It's all pre-sold. Even if the first movie flops, we'll still be making money on the video sales. Like, it's like, what are you freaking out about? He's like, it's all 3 films were prepaid for.
Yep.
They made a mint on Lord of the Rings. And that's why Jackson had to come back and sue Warner Brothers later on, because it wasn't long after that Warner Brothers said, hey, this little New Line Cinema company seems to know what they're doing. We should take it over and fuck it up. Because what happened was, to take this story where it belongs, to so where you know where they were at, New Line was an independent company up until Ted Turner bought them in 1994, I think it was.
Yeah.
And when he bought them, instead of him telling them what to do, he goes, "You guys seem to know what you're doing. I want to invest. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you this money and you guys go make me some movies." And they did, and he made them a lot of money. But what happened is in 2000 and what year was it? 2000, somewhere between 2002 and 2004, Warner Brothers bought out, did a hostile takeover on Ted Turner, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys remember this or not. And they ousted him and Bob Shea in that whole mix. By 2004, Bob Shea was out of the company, and they just enveloped New Line Cinema into Warner Brothers. And one of the guys who was one of the bigwigs over at New Line was Toby Emmerich. And Toby's claim to fame was stealing the idea for Frequency.
Yeah. Yeah.
And instead of making Mike DeLuca, who is now one of the guys over there is right underneath Zasloff over at Warner Brothers, instead of making him president, they made Toby fucking Emmerich president of Warner Brothers.
Yep.
When it should have been Mike DeLuca the whole fucking time, because he was one of Bob's right-hand man. He was one of the guys that was there. In fact, I think he was one of the guys who brought Peter in for Lord of the Rings, because Peter actually, they've been wanting to work with Peter for years. Because he actually wrote a Nightmare on Elm Street script they never made. I've been trying to get my hands on it for years. It's called The Dream Child. It actually sounds very interesting. Because what it is instead they went with Freddy's Dead.
Yeah.
His version was Freddy it gotten to the point where he was playing on the idea that Freddy wasn't scary anymore to kids. So what kids were doing were popping fucking sleeping pills by the handfuls, at least not to kill themselves, but just fall asleep for a while. And they were going in and kicking the shit out of Freddy. And they were like addicted to it. So Freddy has to come up with a plan to get power back. Like that was the whole point of the story, and he uses the Dream Child to do it, or the Dream Lover or whatever. It's called the Dream Lover. And I think he used the Dream Child because I think that character was in there as an access to this thing. So it was like, it's supposed to be a really good script. They just never made it because they went with Rachel Talalay's Freddy's Dead because she had tenure at that time at New Line. That's really all it was. His was the better script, but she had this idea that it became Freddy's Dead. And since she had been the line producer on the first few and the producer on all but part 5, and I think that's why they brought her back to let her do it, is because she was starting to go off and do her own things. But they're like, well, no, we want to keep her in house. So like they gave her Freddy's Dead. And
so basically we had to suffer all of this crap because they didn't want Michael DeLuca.
Yeah, because Warner Brothers made the worst decision ever, and they decided to take over Ted Turner's, because he had TBS, TNT were two of the hottest fucking networks on cable television at that time.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, he was making bank left and right, because basically the reason I told that whole thing is if they didn't have the money to begin with from Ted Turner to back them up from the early 90s that got them to that point, then Bob couldn't have played big dick over Weinstein and took over Lord of the Rings the way he did. Wow. He had the money and he knew how to do it. And it was mainly because of having that backup from Ted too, right? Like that's what helped, is because if you notice, their movies went from Nightmare on Elm Street type stuff. Then they got lucky and Ninja Turtles made them some bank. So between then and there, they led up to things like The Mask and Dumb and Dumber. That's when Ted Turner came in and noticed they were making money. So from that point on, all that stuff, they were just becoming a major studio at that point. Yeah. And that led all right to Lord of the Rings, which was arguably one of the biggest trilogies of all time, right behind Star Wars and, whatever at that point. There's not much bigger than at that point in our history. Now there's more with Marvel, but before, this was pre-Marvel at that time. So yeah.
Yeah.
People forget how big the Lord of the Rings were.
Yeah. I remember.
I think they made collectively over $2 billion, I think it was at that time, close to it.
Yep. and got Academy Award nominations.
And won at on the third one, yeah.
Yep. I just think that thinking back on it, yeah, I think had Michael DeLuca been the guy, I think they would have been a little more successful in their plans for the DC IP.
Well, for what it's worth, until James Gunn came in, he was going to try and refurbish what they had because he knew that Gal and Henry and Ben and them were popular with the fans, but they knew they needed to reboot.
Yeah.
But when James came in, it was more or less just, time to reboot.
Yeah. What I was talking about, though, is if he had been brought in earlier, I think they would have gone with better scripts for what they were planning to do. I don't know if they would have made I personally would like to think they still would have attempted Justice League. I think they would have considered Green Lantern, but they would have had a better script for that. And then everything else would have been moot after that point. I like the idea of taking IP that's not well known and creating different types of movies based on DC Comics IP that is not well known. The Red films did well enough. A History of Violence did well enough.
Road to Perdition.
That's another New Line Cinema was the violence one, History of Violence, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They had some stuff, and again, it wasn't that obvious that these were all based on comic books, let alone DC Comics. But if you took the stuff that you could have gotten away with without having to spend a whole lot of money, you would have had something really different. That's the reason why I kept talking that probably the biggest idea they had was, I know the movie didn't do that well, but if they had gone down that whole road with the Losers, I think they could have eventually worked their way to something like Challengers of the Unknown, which is really the Losers, or should I say the Expendables, combined with the X-Files to make something really different. And that could have either been a film or a television series. I think they could have made that work, but they wouldn't have spent outrageous amounts of money to do it. And a lot of missed opportunity. A lot of missed opportunities.
Yep.
Wow. See, you just cleared up a lot for me, Tom.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I've kind of figured out how we've got here as far as one side of it. The woke thing was a whole nother ball of wax. Came into the mix. Like Hollywood was already on Hollywood was already on this trend of caving in on itself. The woke, I think, just made it happen sooner. Really, at the end of the day, because at first, what I was calling it was the McDonaldization.
Let me ask you this though. Given everything now that you've found out, that you've been able to uncover, especially with everything leading into Man of Steel, do you think there was really any way for them to have talked Christopher Nolan into taking over the DC EU, basically?
No.
That's what I thought.
No, from my understanding, no matter what history you want to believe, no matter whose revisionist history you want to go by, Nolan's involvement was there for one reason, and two reasons, and two reasons only. One being because of the Batman thing, and they wanted to be able to have Christopher Nolan's name on the fucking trailer.
Yeah.
The other reason was supposedly to run interference with John Peters. And after that, they ended up buying him out, so I believe it. Because I don't know if you guys know who John Peters is, but he's famously the one who's responsible for all the problems that with Superman, the Superman Lives and all that shit or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's the whole thing during the Flash and having the cameo by the Cage version of Superman fighting the Spider.
Yeah. He was the one who said that I don't want Superman to fly. And I don't want him in those tights. He looks like a F word. And can you give him a gay robot sidekick? Oh, and he should have polar bears that are there to protect the Fortress of Solitude. And in the third act, he should fight Spider, a giant spider. You want to know why? Because a spider is the most vicious animal in the animal kingdom. It's like fucking nut job. This guy's claim to fame was he started his career because he was a hairdresser and he was fucking Streisand.
Barbara Streisand. Yeah.
That's where his career started. And then he got lucky when he was one of the producers on a couple of decent films that did well after he produced a bunch of Streisand's pictures. And he happened to be one of the producers on Batman 89. And that's how he got dug into this thing. And he's like, well, so as soon as Batman hit, then he got himself involved with Superman because he's like, well, that's the next logical one,
Wow. Just wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But Nolan, I don't think ever had any plans or really any sway. I mean, they clearly told Zack and Goyer to make this just like Batman Begins. Like you can pretty much put Batman Begins on one TV and Man of Steel on the other, and you'd feel like the same movie is on. Yeah. Like they even have like the little flashback scenes and everything the same way that Batman Begins starts out, like it goes from flashback to modern, flashback to modern, flashback to modern until it's modern. It's like, and then the rest of the film's in modern day. It's like the same premise kind of thing. And and what we feel and we realize is that doesn't work when you try to do that with Superman. Like at the end of the day. And I've had that conversation with many people. And, whether you like Man of Steel or not, I don't think anybody can really truly argue it's a Superman movie. No, I could believe somebody liking it is about this kind of like interesting look at a character like Superman, kind of like it. But what if this other thing happened, or what if he was like this, or what if he was raised this way? Because that's kind of what it is. Because it's not Superman. What makes Superman are the things that the Kents instill in him as he's growing up, and then when he learns of his powers and what he's there for and his purpose, that's when he becomes the full-fledged Superman. And when he leaves the Fortress of Solitude because of all those things, he's supposed to be fully formed. There is no first day or Superman year one type shit. Like, I hate that crap. Right?
I don't.
Huh?
I know. It's what I hated about the Batman.
I was going to say,
no. I'm just like you. That's the reason. Look, that's
what bothers me about the Batman, too. His motherfucker spent how many years training and he needs a year to get good? What the hell?
Yeah. I mean, the whole League of Shadows thing makes no sense. If you are to believe that he's trained with the best, why is he making so much noise in the dark? Why is he not?
The Batman is a horrible rendition. Like, at least Batman Begins, he's not as much of a fucking fool and a fumbler. Like, the way he's kind of he's developing himself. He's not like, oh, fucked up, it's my first day kind of shit. That. Like, he's forming Batman, the persona, as he's already doing the things that he would do as Batman already once he comes back, right? He's already Batman. That's it. He just hasn't created the persona yet, right? Same thing with Superman. Once he takes that first flight, he should already know how to use all these powers. He's had them since he was a kid for the most part. That's the other thing that's fucking stupid. Like, I mean, I get it. There's, depending on which version you go by, there's variations on when he gets his powers and all that kind of stuff. But regardless, I don't ever remember a Superman year one book, okay, where he had to learn, I gotta wait till I'm on the ground to put the cat down. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
Because if I drop him from the top of the tree, then it dies anyway. You don't have, Superman's not gonna have those kind of oopsie days. Sorry.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, you don't even take into consideration a lot of that shit. Sorry.
Oh no, that's all right. I mean, look, I've had that conversation several times, along with my whole diatribe about the Batman, which I like to call Dumb 7. because that's what the movie is. It's
Ugh.
Seven, just with a Batman kind of veneer attached to it.
Well, I was
Yeah.
out of it. I mean, it was bad enough when he comes clomping up in the dark.
Oh,
They're like-
jeez.
They're like, "Who are you?" He's like, "Vengeance." What was worse than that? Worse than that when he comes up and he's like, boom, 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 boom on the fucking door. And
Yeah.
they answer the door and he's like, "You know who I am? I want to talk to the Penguin." It's like, I don't think anybody since Adam West as Batman would knock.
Yeah.
And Adam West would do it as a joke.
Yes.
That's the thing, is they knew what they were doing in that series, right? Like, watching it now, it's like, oh, they're fucking clever as hell. And that's why watching Batman and Robin now as an adult, I fucking get it.
Yeah.
Like, Schumacher was doing Batman the series, the original series. That's all it is. That's why he's got the Bat credit card. I mean, come on, it's a fucking joke. It's all one parody satire of what Batman is, but to a kid, you can take it seriously. Right?
Yep.
Looking at it now as an adult, I totally get all the fucking jokes in Batman. And that would be something that would be in the Batman series where he'd knock on the door. Because like Robin would be like, "Don't you think we should sneak in, Batman?" And he'd be like, "No, Robin, we're designated crime fighters by the police. We need to knock first and let them know that we have a warrant." You know, like that's what he would do. You know what I mean?
Somebody that owns a business.
Right?
They're business owners. Hey, hello, citizen.
Yeah, they're fellow business owners. We can't just be breaking in, Robin. They're great denizens of the city. That's what
that would have been better than the Batman.
I know. I'm sitting here watching, and then the part that really killed me, because when I realized we've got an hour of this shit left, is when he's sitting there with Commissioner Gordon. And he's trying to conceal this other piece of evidence because he thinks it might give him away as Bruce Wayne, instead of just worrying about the fucking trap that's being set up that you should know about if you're the world's greatest fucking detective. Because I seen it from a mile away and I'm in the goddamn audience. It's like, it's too easy. Jesus, Batman. Can't you see that he's setting you up? His work is done. Why else do you think he turned himself in? I'm like, there's a bomb somewhere. Sure as shit, he blows up half the fucking town. It's like, we've seen this already. It was called Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises.
Yep.
And then everybody tries to argue, no, it's different. I'm like, you fucking liar. It's the same exact fucking plot as Batman Begins. The only difference is he doesn't have a drug. That's the only difference. They shut down the whole town and blow up the city because they're trying to get rid of the degenerates. That's what it's all about. It's the same fucking plot. Like, where in the world did you think this was a new plot? Oh my God! It just drives me nuts arguing with those people on Twitter sometimes.
And that's the movie he came up with after ditching Affleck's script and then taking a year off.
From what I keep hearing, that Affleck script is badass.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing. And he chose to go off and write the better Batman script from the vantage point of being a Batman fan, and that's what he came up with. The scene in the freaking church, is what gets me. He gets blown up, knocked out. Every cop in the city hates him, and somehow they transport his body from the church to police headquarters, and
without even taking his mask off.
Yeah.
I know, that bothered me too. Like, what the fuck? Pull his mask off. You've been trying to figure out who this asshole is for the last 2 hours. Like, what the hell?
You allow him to wake up surrounded by cops, including the current police commissioner, and everybody's mad except Gordon. So Gordon somehow kept an entire room of cops from taking off his mask.
How? That's my question.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah. How?
Especially when a lot of those cops are crooked.
And that's not how the fucking force works anyway. They would have took all that shit off on his way when he would have been arrested. He's being arrested. Like, what the fuck is this shit?
Something else that gets me is the whole carpet tool thing. It's like, you've got smartphones. Why didn't you just take a picture and Google it?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is what gets, because like somebody brought up, you're in the audience, you understand. I get that. But I was also looking at it from the perspective of, as Batman, he should be smart enough to go, wait a minute. I don't think the Riddler truly knows who I am. And I can see it as probably this is just a trick, and there's another bomb or something's going off somewhere. This is a trick. He should have seen it from the start. Like the fact that Batman didn't realize it, and I realized it as an audience member, because I was a step ahead of Batman the whole time, regardless of what we saw as people in the movie, because his riddles were dumb.
Yep.
And it was basically the same type of shit the Joker was doing in The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
And the plot really didn't gel at the end of the day. And I'm sorry, even because people are like, oh, you just don't like it because you don't like Pattinson. No. You put anybody else in that movie, it wouldn't have made it better.
That's right. The script was bad.
Yeah.
You know, it was just a script where somebody was throwing in all this stuff that he had seen done better in other movies, including Seven. Because when has the Riddler ever been a serial killer?
Not just that. You make the Waynes a bad guys for what reason and what reason only. I'll tell you what reason. They have every white person in this movie is horrible. So by the middle of the movie, when you got Catwoman giving that fucking BLM speech, I'm like, wait a minute, is that the only reason you hired what's-his-face to play Commissioner Gordon? Because I didn't even think that was the reason until now. And now I'm thinking, is that the only reason he's black? Is so he can be the only good cop who's not corrupt?
Yeah. Let me go ahead and validate for you. Yes.
Yeah, I figured that out myself, but thank you, Keith.
as the black guy representative here right now.
I was like, because I'm watching this movie and it's like Bruce Wayne is technically the only good white guy, and even he admits that he's not that good, right? In certain things that he's doing. So it's like, you know, even have that speech that he's given at that funeral where it's like, you need to do better. You know, you need to help the city more, you know, and that kind of shit. It's like, what fucking more does this guy need to do? Like, that's the thing where I hate, like, the Batman's a fascist line from, like, people don't understand why that's such, it can work as a joke if the person's a complete moron and they don't know what they're talking about. Because regardless of who Batman is at the end of the day, Bruce Wayne, as far as we know, gives a lot back to Gotham City. Yep. Like, they've always portrayed him as somebody who is always giving back to the city in one way or another. How many Batman comics, Batman episodes of the original show or the cartoon started off with Bruce Wayne is presenting the city with a check for $500,000 to help the children's hospital, or $2 million, you know, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And that's usually what kicked off something. Then the Joker had to fuck with that. And that's, you know, whatever, you know, like, come on. Like, he's always been that way. And to make the Waynes out to be these horrible people that they're not was even worse. Cause that's,
well, to even bring in the fact that his mom was mentally ill and the fact that he didn't know. Yeah, I know. It's like, okay, so Bruce didn't recognize that his mom had something wrong with her. He didn't have to know the exact diagnosis, but most kids, even at that age, would at least recognize that there's something wrong with
it's
mom.
Useful. It's useless. It's useless other than you want to play with the fucking idea that he may have some kind of mental instability in his family, which goes against the whole point of Batman. The whole point of Batman and the reason he's doing what he's doing, he's right by what he's doing, is he thinks and knows, much like the Punisher, is that he's the only guy who can psychologically handle this shit. And it also takes away from the fact of the Waynes, their death being senseless, right?
Yeah.
Because they were these great people in this city. They were a shining beacon in this town, and they were gunned down for nothing more than a strand of pearls and a few bucks.
That's it.
Yep.
That is the whole fucking point. Making them some kind of monsters. That's the one thing I didn't like about the Joker. Was when they kind of tried to make Thomas Wayne out to be this fucking Trump type guy. And it's like, why are you doing that? That is not who Thomas Wayne should be. Now, granted,
because Hollywood only cares about the message.
Granted, I will give them the benefit of the doubt with the Joker because Todd Phillips has come out later and said, oh yes, the movie is from his perspective. It is an unreliable narrator. So we are seeing Thomas Wayne from Joker's point of view. That's why. Just like he created that whole girlfriend thing in his head. So that I can, okay, fine, whatever. There's plausibility there for that. This was just blatant bullshit. Just to say, oh, this is why he's so emo. It's because his mom went crazy.
Wow.
And then you have, you know, Alfred keeping it from him so he can be an asshole too. And then that also makes him a fucking, not only an asshole, but I brought this up recently too, but I never brought it up before. It makes him liable for anything that fucking Bruce does, because knowing that his family has a history of fucking mental issues, why the fuck would you let him go out at night dressed like a goddamn bat?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
You should know fucking well this kid is off his fucking rocker getting
That's
into
right.
Arkham.
That's right. He'd get in for free.
He's going to get himself or
is.
somebody else killed is what's going to happen. This is the way Alfred
right.
should be looking at this situation right now.
That's
Instead
right.
of, oh, I'm sorry I kept this from you, Bruce. It's like, no, you fucker. If this is true, then he is nuts and he shouldn't be out here doing this. That goes against the whole reason why Batman's doing what he's doing.
There you go. And that
Batman thinks and knows that he's the only one who can mentally and physically handle this, and he doesn't want to let anybody else have to deal with it.
Yep.
Or have that responsibility because nobody else can handle it. He's the only guy who won't kill the Joker. That's the point.
Mm-hmm. And again, I'm thinking they were just thinking at that point that they were going to be successful enough to make more movies and to draw everything out, which is the reason why in this version of Batman, for the Batman, rather than have his mother's maiden name be Kane, her name is actually Arkham. To hammer home the fact that she's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, what it is, okay, what they're doing there is they're setting up for future to where it's like, oh, Arkham Asylum is from my family. Oh, then I'm to blame for all these crazy people that are coming out. No, you set it up that way because Alfred always has to make that point to Batman. Do you never not stop to think that you doing what you're doing isn't escalating what they're doing? Right? Like, that's the whole point of this. Batman always has to stop and think, if I stop doing this tomorrow, will the Joker not exist? Will Penguin stop doing what he's doing? Will the Riddler not exist? Do they exist because I'm here? Those are the questions that he has to ask himself every single time he goes out. That is also why he does not leave it up to himself to be judge, jury, and executioner of these people. He will only take it up to the point, and then he will leave it up to the law from there on out. That is the whole point of Batman. That is why Adam West's version, as corny as it is, gets Batman.
Yep.
There you go.
Oh, I get very passionate, Penny, but I'm good.
Love it. Loving see, it's not just me, everybody. It is not just me.
That's also why Batman the Animated Series is the best version of Batman.
Yeah. Because they got him. They got it.
Yep.
Because that's his whole thing, is Batman's not supposed to be somebody who's teetering on the edge all the fucking time. That is not who he is. That is Tim Burton's Batman.
Yeah.
I like the Denny O'Neil version of Batman because that's a Batman who totally is into who he is. And he'll travel the world. He does. It's not about, oh, I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling this way. No, he's totally into what he's doing.
Well, yeah, that was when they kind of introduced that. It was post Denny. It was kind of in that, the Dark Knight Returns era where you kind of have this thing where Batman's this tortured, No.
But Denny O'Neil, he loves being Batman. There's a portion of it because Robin's just gone off to college. It's now Bruce and Alfred again. He's traveling the world, and he's kind of like how did Denny explain it in an interview? His Batman is more of a combination of being like the jet setter version of James Bond, which would be the which Bond of the 1970s? So that would be the Roger Moore Bond. So he made him a combination of Roger Moore's Bond and the Shadow a little bit. I was down with it. That's the reason why that's my Batman. He's having fun with it. He's got the chicks, but he also knows enough to be able to sneak away and do what he has to do in the secret, all that stuff. Love it. Love that stuff. No torture. He knows what he's got to do. Oh, love it. Love it. And for those of you who have never read those, I highly recommend that entire run of Batman from Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams.
And what you're talking about is kind of the reason why I've come around more so on Batman and Robin. And I mean, I've always kind of liked Batman Forever, but I have a newfound respect for it. And don't get me wrong, I love the Burton films, but those are movies that work in their world for what they are. Is that Batman? Sort of. It's a version of Batman. It's
a version
not
of
quite Batman, but it works for that world. And once you get to Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, that's actually Batman, right? And you know why that is, and that's because Schumacher actually watched the 60s show. Tim Burton never picked up a comic, right? The only comic he ever read was The Killing Joke, and he might have skimmed through Frank Miller's Dark Knight. That's about it.
Depends on the day. Yeah.
Yeah. Given that, I love its aesthetic. I love it for what it is. But as far as who Batman is and what he stands for, what he should be doing, how his relationship is to these characters, if he creates them or not, the whole question of it, I think was explored really well in Batman Forever. And yeah, I mean, to me, that is one of the better Batman films that we've had to date.
I grew up watching the Batman Adam West series. I'm not the biggest fan of that series. I don't hate it. I'm not the biggest fan.
Same here,
mainly because that Batman really came out of the 1950s. That television show was really doing the 50s version of the character, which is the reason why they hired all the people who worked on the comic books from that period to come in and help with the TV show. So that by the 1960s, a lot of basically what they got away with doing was doing all the stories that you saw kind of sort of in the 1950s during the 1960s. But Adam West played it, doing all the double entendres, but he played it as if his Batman is kind of like how I would listen in my head to what the Batman of the 1950s sounded like. And that's good. That's good. I mean, I liked all of that. But for the Denny O'Neil stuff, I liked the fact that he was a man of his period. I mean, he was a man of the 1970s. He could fly anywhere. He could do whatever he wanted. He could track down whoever he wanted. And because of that period of time, that's where we got Ra's al Ghul. Yeah. And we got somebody that was truly on the other side of Batman, who kind of sort of had the same mission, but he went to any lengths to do whatever he had to do to root out evil, including becoming judge, jury, and executioner. And Bruce had to go up against that and say, whoa, 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 that's not me. You can take your weird pool that you swim in and your oversexed daughter, and you guys can just hop that train out of town because I'm not down with that. That's what I loved about that period of time, because he comes in and the villains that he had during that period were just, oh, geez, off the hook. They were truly crazy. But I think Bruce was able to finally define, who he was and where he fit. And Ra's al Ghul allows him to truly get balance and understand that, okay, that's what can happen to me if I go too far. And I don't want to do that. So love it. Love that stuff. Adam West was good. I enjoy Adam West. I've enjoyed all the actors that have played Batman. But I think the closest that I've seen to the Batman that I like is I like parts of Ben Affleck's portrayal, certain aspects of what he did in Batman v Superman.
He's a little too Frank Miller, but yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I liked aspects of it. The party scene when he's interacting, especially the scenes with Diana, that leans into the version of Bruce Wayne I like. The flirtation, all that stuff, of which, the people behind the animated Justice League series were kind of, also going down that road, at least on that series, of picking up on, flirtation of Bruce and Diana. I like that, but that's not completely the Batman that I really like. You know, it's kind of close in certain areas. You know, but I like that Alfred though. I think personality wise, his Alfred is the one that I like the best because Alfred should be snarky. He should be very snarky. You know, he should have times where he's just gonna share what he thinks, even if it seems inappropriate.
Yeah, I think Michael Caine did it pretty well.
Oh, Michael Caine, yes, Michael Caine was very much a fantastic Alfred.
He was pretty much my favorite at this point. Yeah, not my favorite Batman, but definitely my favorite Alfred.
Oh yeah.
I think. Look, I believe that they are going to recast. And my hope is that if you're going to do that, please, 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 please spend more time reading the Denny O'Neil stuff. Because I'm telling you, Christopher Nolan took a lot of inspiration from Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams.
And a bit from Mike Barr.
And Mike Barr, yes. And a bit from Mike Barr.
Yeah, I think you should. A lot of the Ra's al Ghul stuff came from Mike Barr more than Denny O'Neil's.
I
think it's more Denny O'Neil.
It is. Well, Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams created the character.
Oh yeah, they created the character, but
and
Mike Barr's years when they had like Daughter of the Demon, Son of the Demon, and all those.
Yeah. Mike Barr did it under the watchful eye, though, of Denny O'Neil, who by then was already Batman was under his purview. So anybody that created any comics related to Batman were under the purview of Denny O'Neil. He basically had to be the guy that would greenlight your ideas if you were going to make a Batman book during that period. That's part of the reason why they called him the Professor. He knew the complete history of the character, and he would help you figure out what your version of Batman was and how to cater to that version that you are making, rather than trying to this whole slap shot thing where let's just throw things at the character. I like that because everybody that had Batman was able to bring their own thing into that character and keep it kind of balanced. He was like a good music producer on an album. That's basically who Denny O'Neil was, and they've lost that in spades, both at DC and Marvel. Someone who could do that and help the creatives find balance in what they're trying to present with the stories that they are writing.
Denny wasn't infallible, though. I mean, he was good, though.
No. He wasn't infallible.
Like what he did with Wonder Woman really fucked him over real good.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Like he fucked that up pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I like Mike Barr is because he did the Batman versus Outsider, or Batman and the Outsider.
No, but I like Denny though. Yeah.
And that's the Batman I like, because I mean that's the that's the early '80s to mid '80s Batman.
And again, another opportunity for people of color and women. That's what really gets me sometimes when people look at this stuff and says, oh, well, we're going to have to do stuff to kind of fix this. Really? Are you guys even reading the comics? Are you looking at the comics? Because there are a lot of people of color in both Marvel and DC. You know, I can't understand what is so hard about picking up one of those DK encyclopedia books, either about Marvel or DC, and looking inside of one of those and saying, hey, here's a character we can get. Here's a character we can use.
Yeah. You want a gay character in Marvel?
You got one.
North Star.
He's right there.
You had the first gay wedding. You had the first gay wedding in comics, for goodness sake.
Yep. And everybody showed up for that one.
Yeah.
and oh geez, it just bugs me, man. It bugs me. And what makes Marvel worse is, again, as I keep saying, this is the story of a company, Marvel Comics, that wanted to make their own movies because they were sick and tired of all these studios getting it wrong. That's all. That's it. That's why Marvel Studios exist. Marvel wanted to make their own movies.
Hey,
So everything that Kevin Feige's doing right now is going against why Marvel Studios was created. So,
yeah.
It's Paulie. What are you saying, Paulie? What are you doing? I just think that it's embarrassing, really, to try to alter characters to fit the fact that you haven't done the homework. You know, I've been saying, look, you want to have more female heroes in the Marvel films, that's fine. What about Daughters of the Dragon?
Yes.
I have to admit, that was a duo I had a crush on, and I wanted to see I wanted to see an MCU version of that duo. And
like
they
the
act like
two actresses they had to play those characters were excellent.
Gosh. Oh, my God.
You had them right there, and you just let them fade away.
Let them go. Yeah, let them go. What? They weren't ethnic enough? It's killing me. You know, it's killing me. And that's the reason why I'm a big proponent of just going ahead and rebooting everything that they got right now. That's the only way to solve these problems, because you got to reboot. Because I think they have, I think Hugh Jackman, they've signed him to like a 5-picture deal.
Yeah, and he's not getting any younger.
And he's not getting any. Look, you've already have the contract. You've got it signed. He wants to do stuff. You need to reboot this right now before you get to the rest of the X-Men. You just got to. Because if you continue going down this road that you've been going with the Marvels, with Captain America 4, with all this other stuff, you're going to waste Hugh Jackman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I hate to say it, but, well, I don't hate to say it because I'm going to say it, but I think it's time for Kevin Feige to go. I think he's lost the plot.
Yeah.
I would do a deal.
I think
with
he's
Kevin
run
Feige.
his course anyway. I mean, I don't say he has to leave necessarily, but they let James Gunn go. That was the biggest mistake they ever made.
Oh, yeah.
I think they could do a deal with him. I think they could do a deal where they
and I
tell
honestly
him,
would have rather seen James stay over at Marvel, to be honest with you, but that's just me.
I agree. I agree with you. I think he would have been more comfortable there, but he's gone.
I wanted to see what he was going to do with the cosmic side, but
yes, that's exactly it. I would. Ooh, geez, that would be so cool.
We got these people yelling at us at Twitter for having him. We need to fire him.
Yeah. I think there should be a deal made. And I know what I'm about to say next is going to be kind of controversial, but I think you should just hear me out on this, because I was talking to Gary about this the other day. Here's what I think should be done. If Kevin Feige cannot be dissuaded from continuing down this road and just going ahead and rebooting, I think he should say goodbye. But I think he should be made an offer before he leaves.
Refuse?
That's up to either one of you guys who, once you hear what I'm about to say. I think he should at least be someone who should be in consideration to run Star Wars.
Well, he couldn't do anything any worse than KK.
I think he should at least be given that option. I think you bring in someone else. In fact, you could run. Look, I think for right now, given where they're headed, you could get away with having a small committee plan out what to do with Marvel for right now. Although personally, again, controversial thing to say, I think
I know where this is going.
I think you should. Yeah, I know. I'm going to say it. I know I'm going to get hate for it.
Don't say it, Keith. They'll hate you.
Yeah, well, screw them. I think they should bring back Joss Whedon and let him run things for a little bit. Not to be the ultimate boss, but to set up a few things until they can find someone to run the MCU. Now, all you people out there that are about to kill me for that one need to understand that technically that was kind of what he was doing anyway after the first Avengers movie and before Avengers Age of Ultron. That's all I'm going to say. It's not out of the realm of possibility. And again, I'm not saying he should run the whole thing and be the ultimate boss. I'm just saying let him just do a few things for a little while until you can build the MCU back up and find somebody to properly run it. That's not going to try to hit on all the women. So
what they need is somebody that's good with budgets, paired with somebody that's creative. And I think that for the creative side, I'd like to see them tag the Russo brothers. Because they made the best Marvel movies. All the best movies were Russo brother movies.
Well, if we take Endgame out of it, yes, I agree.
I liked Endgame though. But then again, I like good stuff and bad stuff. So
Endgame has problems.
Yeah, it does have problems.
I'm not saying I'm not going to sit here and say it's the worst movie ever. It's not like that. But that there are problems. There are issues with Endgame.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fan service though. So
true. But I'm not saying I disagree with that idea. That could be interesting. I'm just saying that you need to have someone who has a more than just a passing familiarity with the comics to come in and take over for a little while.
Yeah.
Kevin needs to go. Kevin definitely needs to go. But you need to at least have somebody in the interim that can keep things going a certain direction and bring back some of the proper fan service rather than trying to be what's the word I'm looking for? I just don't think that a lot of the directions they're headed right now need to be headed down.
Yep.
That's all. Oh, thank you, Ariel.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just yeah. Aunt Kathy should probably give me a job if I really do love all that. I know she won't because I'm a little too male. So
you're also a comic book fan, and they don't hire comic book fans anymore.
Shh! You see, now you ruined it, John. She's never gonna call me. Oh man.
Sorry.
Yes, it's true. I'm a comic book fan. I like Star Wars. I think George Lucas is kind of cool on certain days of the week.
So we've got Nate Moore sitting as a gatekeeper.
Oh, geez, Nate Moore. Oh, geez. You know what, Nate?
Yeah.
Nate, you gotta, brother, please. Tell me that Kevin put a gun to your head and made you say all that stuff. Please tell me that he put a gun to your head, because if that's what you truly believe and you still say you're a comic book fan, I hereby call your comic book card null and void.
Yeah. Same with Kevin Feige.
Oh, really?
A comic book fan wouldn't have let Phase 4 and Phase 5 go the way that it has. Comic book fan wouldn't have given somebody that had zero big budget experience and has only done indie features a huge movie like the Eternals.
Yeah.
That's something that's supposed to have huge ramifications for the entire multiverse.
True.
it's
True.
Chloe Zhao had no business, and at least he was smart enough to say, "No, Chloe, you can't destroy the Earth." Like she wanted.
That should never have been a question. That should never have been a question that would have ever come up.
No, but he wouldn't have a comic book fan would not have done what they did with She-Hulk.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you talk me into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin, I gotta revoke your comic fan card. I'm sorry.
He pretended he was a comic fan when he first started the MCU, but it's obvious that he was listening to somebody else for a while, and
I would feel better about the X-Men coming in if they put Joss Whedon in charge for a little bit, considering what his run on the comic did.
Yeah.
And again, I get why people would be upset about Joss Whedon, but can you think of anybody else outside of the Russos that you would put in charge of all that? Because it's not like Joss Whedon's doing anything right now. He's just sitting at home.
I know who I want in charge of the X-Men writing room. Chris Claremont.
Of course. You get Chris Claremont in there and you put Joss Whedon with him.
Oh yeah.
I'm calling up David Zaslav going, it's over, dude.
Yeah.
It's over. It's over. Just no, don't do it. Just it's over. It's officially over if Joss Whedon teams up with Chris Claremont. It's over. It's done.
Yeah.
In fact, you could almost shut down the rest of the Marvel Universe.
Well, they could rebuild the reboot around X-Men.
X-Men and Fantastic Four, yes.
Yeah, and Fantastic Four, yeah. And because they should have started, I mean, I know they didn't have the rights, but I wish they would have started with Fantastic Four, because that's kind of the way that that's the way Marvel rebuilt itself from going from the Golden Age to the Silver Age.
Yeah, well, this is a good place to. That's the reason why I keep saying this is a good time and a good place to go ahead and just reboot it. Just reboot the whole thing. Reboot the MCU. You're casting right now for the Fantastic Four. You've got Hugh Jackman coming in representing the X-Men, and we don't need to go with the mutants anymore. I think we can call them the X-Men now, because that problematic person is no longer there.
Thank goodness.
The visual effects at least will look good.
And Ariel, I am totally down for a Muppet Marvel movie. I want to see Muppet X-Men. Not down.
Pigs in Space would be great, but look, this seems kind of dark from the Disney view of things. I'm sure that at least for anybody that isn't a true creative, things are looking kind of down. But you know what? There are directions to go. There are still options. And if Marvel turns itself around, that means nothing but positive stuff for all of Disney. I think the difficult thing will be bringing Pixar back.
Yeah. I'm still thinking that Apple's going to buy Pixar. And the reason why I think that is because of Steve Jobs' legacy.
True. Latino Slant. He said I was getting used to the X them. Look, after everything they've been doing in comics the last 5 years, even the X-Men need to be rebooted. I think I think we just need to go back.
I think it's time for the whole Marvel universe to reboot.
I'm going to go with what I said a few years back. Here's what I would do. If you really wanted to get everybody excited, comic book readers especially, here's what you do. You reboot the MCU and you reboot the comics. And you tell everybody in comics, we're going to reboot Marvel back to, say, 2002. So anything that happened after 2002, we're not going to count that anymore. We're just going to start right from that period. Every storyline, everything. 2002. There you go. That fixes a lot of stuff. And for DC, I do the same thing, except for them, I would say 1995. There you go.
Yeah, 95. That would be a good start.
Anything that happened after 1995, we're just not going to think about anymore. It doesn't exist. We're going to act like we just finished off the year 1995, and we go from there. That fixes a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but we're going to be missing one thing. I guess we could redo it.
What?
House of M.
You want to open that up? You want to open that door? House of M? You want to thread that needle?
It could be done. It could be done better than it was, but
okay. Hey, no, I'm okay. Because what I'm about to say might make you mad. Then, if we want to do that, then I should say let's just go ahead and do the New 52.
Okay, let's not get hasty. Let's not get hasty.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would just go ahead and keep it as a living, breathing universe when it comes to the movies. And I would do kind of like what Marvel unintentionally did with greenlighting Blade and other projects, which is just do basically what Warner Brothers was doing with DC early on.
Yeah.
You know, in the early 2000s. Find all of the really cool, interesting IP and go ahead and just make individual movies and keep the budgets low. It's not that hard. Etrick and the Demon. The Demon would be a really cool project. You should be able to do that for about $60 million.
Oh, you know what? That was already in my suggestion at one point. So
yeah, Etrick and the Demon, $60 million. Okay.
Yeah.
You do. I think the only thing that would warrant spending over $100 million would be the Fourth World.
Oh yeah, yeah. You have to go.
You should have that as a major streaming event on Netflix, not on Max. You should have that on Netflix. It's a 10-episode streaming event. And call it Jack Kirby's Fourth World.
Yeah, which was the title of the comic run that they did in, was it 97, 98?
Uh-huh. But that was not the name of the movie that they were talking about doing, that Tom King was writing. It wasn't going to be called Jack Kirby's Fourth World. It was going to be called New Gods.
Well, yeah.
I think you should put Jack Kirby's name front and center, because that's going to bring in all the comic book fanboys and girls. And it'll be something new overall. And it's a massive story, that definitely should be streaming.
Yes.
For 10 episodes. You do it right, and it's a superhero Game of Thrones.
And if it does well, you can do a second season.
There you go.
And you can do if you do New Gods, then you can do split offs. You can have a Mr. Miracle series.
Or the Forever Men.
Yep.
And Forever People.
Forever People. Yeah.
Again, it writes itself.
Yeah.
Look, I would tell David Zasloff, if he wants to take a meeting with me, I will accept a meeting with him, and I'll go meet him, or you can come meet me, and we'll discuss it. And
just make sure I'm invited to that.
yeah. You can help negotiate when he doesn't pay me. But I'm a fan that just wants to see good stuff from both DC and Marvel. I'm getting sick and tired of us just being, we're being expected to support crap.
Yeah.
Blue Beetle should have been a lot better than it was. That's all.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to hate on it. I didn't hate it. I like Jaime, but I think if you're going to do Blue Beetle, it should be a celebration of the character that has now, as of this year, been around for 57 years. At least the version that I know. Now, in actuality, Blue Beetle's actually been around. Ted Kord. In actuality, Blue Beetle and Batman are the same age. They've been around the same number of years.
Batman's just a few months older.
Yep.
I think like 3.
Yeah, because Blue Beetle celebrates his anniversary in November.
I thought it was this month. I thought it was August.
I'd have to look that up. You know what? I'm going to go with what you're saying, August. I'm going to go with August. But 1939, Ted Kord comes in. Yeah, that's it. I got it wrong. Ted Kord comes in November of 66.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
August 1939, Dan Garrett first appeared Fox Comics Mystery Men Comics, #1.
There you go. You could do all kinds of just amazing stuff. And I will say this. The Question would be an obvious Netflix series.
Yeah.
It's taking the character of Fox Mulder and pushing him all the way out there. Turning his mind almost inside out, making him paranoid as F.
Yep.
And that's The Question. And you don't have to play up the superhero aspects of a lot of this stuff. Just, these are ideas. You go ahead and make them. And, oh yeah, they just all happen to be based on comic books. If you treat it like that, I think you have more chance of success. You don't have to tie everything in. A lot of these ideas initially weren't all tied together. And since I'm making friends, let me at least officially announce, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. I love Zachary Levi as an actor, but I disagree with how they've done the Shazam character. Because this whole thing of having him be a kid in the body of an adult, but still have him act like a kid, that's more of a recent change with the character.
Yeah, just prior to New 52, as you researched.
Yeah. The longest time for that character, when he says the word and ages up, he has full control over all his faculties, including the wisdom aspect. He is pretty much an adult. Technically, yes, he is still a kid, but he's a kid that has access to all these powers, including the wisdom part. It makes no sense to have all this stuff and powers connected to all this stuff. Oh, but the W doesn't work.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It's like, oh, he can do all this incredible stuff. He can even run real fast, but the W part don't work. Yeah. I'm not a fan of doing that. I believe that Fury of the Gods should not have been the second film. It should have been the third film. It should have been the finale of a trilogy.
Yep.
That the first film should have been all about Billy Batson. That's it. Nothing else. All about Billy Batson. And you have cameos from Freddie and Mary. And then the second film is about Freddie and Mary and Billy and how Freddie and Mary get their powers. And then you have the comic book version of the Marvel family. You do an entire adventure with that and have the kids, their other orphaned siblings, find out at the end of that movie, and that will lead you into Shazam! Fury of the Gods. That's how that trilogy should have gone.
The second movie should have been Dr. Sylvanas and Mr. Mind.
Yes, that would have been a perfect film. And where they think they only have to deal with him, and that's where you have Captain Marvel Jr. and Mary Marvel join. That's exactly what it should have been. And Eric, I agree with you, Ariel, but who would you have brought in to take over for The Rock? Because The Rock was never going to go for that.
He wants to fight Superman.
Yeah, he wanted to fight Superman. I agree with you, though. Yes, she was. Paulie.
Paulie,
Yes, she was.
That's
Hey
a
guys,
very
I hate
true
to do this,
statement.
but I do got to run. So
Yeah, thank you,
you guys
for
have a
sitting
good
in,
day,
man.
and it was fun hanging out with you.
See you later, Tom.
Tom,
Have a
you
good
are
day.
always
Bye,
invited
Tom.
to come in anytime.
Thank you.
No, thank you. But yes, it is when you invite fans in to discuss this kind of stuff, this is what you get. We've solved, look, between John and I, we've solved nearly every single problem they've had. DC could be back in the, Disney could be back in the black if they would just take our phone call. Because there's not a person here that wouldn't want to sit down to watch the X-Men if you and I were helping to get them involved. And you came up with a brilliant idea, Chris Claremont. It's over. Nobody needs to make another superhero movie after that. With Chris Claremont involved, you might as well just hang it up. All you guys are going for second place right now. I think Blue Beetle would have made a much better television series also. Where again, as I've told John this, I don't think a lot of you have heard this. I think they should just go ahead and have Ted Kord be the one to mentor Jaime Reyes. And you play up the obvious Spider-Man aspects of that version of the character. He wants to be a normal teenager that is capable of doing things. The thing is that they're unsure as to what exactly this scarab could be doing to him.
Yeah.
You've got Ted Kord there as a former hero who can no longer be a hero, who has access to all this technology and who had been studying the scarab for years anyway to create all the technology that he's got, helping Jaime do what he needs to do.
They had a storyline, Ariel. Was it New 52 where they killed him? I think
he got killed in every different version that they had in the last few years. And so they're bringing back Blue Beetle, but they're also bringing back Ted Kord. So Jaime Reyes in this new version that they are relaunching will be Blue Beetle, but they're going to stick to the original story of Jaime not being the Blue Beetle. He will be the third Blue Beetle. And that Ted was the Beetle before him. And he's helping Jaime navigate his way as a hero.
And Blue Beetle and Booster Gold have been a pair since the Maguire I can't remember how to pronounce his name.
Welcome to my life.
It's at least the late 80s. I think they've been a pair since at least the late 80s.
Since their run on Justice League.
Yeah. And again, John, a guy of a certain age, that's how he first ran across those characters. Me, I remember before they ever created Booster Gold, I remember Blue Beetle. And Blue Beetle, I used to get his comics before, when he was still Charlton.
Yeah, I did too.
Before they
That's
got bought out.
That's what I was reading, because I was pulling them off the spinner rack.
I love Ted Kord's run as the Blue Beetle.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think he's a fantastic hero, but I love more of evolving the character and seeing what it's like for someone that used to be a hero that is now using everything they have to help people who can't be a hero anymore.
Yeah.
And helping this young man achieve everything, even though half the time he may not want to. And helping to remind him, you know, it's kind of like, what if Uncle Ben had lived and Peter was still Spider-Man?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. That's the way I think of Ted Kord with Jaime Reyes. You know, he's not meant to take the spotlight. It takes a lot to be a hero, you know. And this, if you de-age Jaime just a little bit and keep him in high school, you create enough room for Ted to be able to come in and help him out and help get him used to this. And you create kind of.
I wouldn't make Ted Kord like so old that he can't do it.
No.
So he's hung up his tights for now, but if he needs to put them on, they still fit.
Yeah. No, I would go with the whole thing of Ted Kord being someone in his you know, he spent his 20s being Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
Now he's in his 30s and he's no longer Blue Beetle. You know, and the Scarab attached itself to a young man who is still in high school. He still has a life that he had planned for himself, but yet, you know, fate had other ideas. And Ted needs to get Jaime to understand, you have a responsibility now that you have this thing on you. You know, and I'm going to teach you how to be a hero. Well, you know, have him be Giles to Jaime Reyes's Slayer. Yeah. Whichever way you want to tell that story, but it really is about a guy who could be selfish, but he's not, because he's already been a hero. He's seen what it's like out there, and he's teaching him, you know, how to protect himself and how to create a separate identity, how to protect his family if need be. Ted could be that guy that could help do those things. And on the flip side, Jaime can help Ted, you know, understand, because he's been a hero for so long. Now, I mean, what do you do? What really do you do? What kind of a life do you have if you spend all your time either putting on the tights and saving people or stuck in a lab all the time?
Yeah.
You know, you can actually go out and have a life. And so the two of them can help each other. It'd be great.
Well, 30s, it's not so much he retires because he can't do it anymore. He's retired to focus on running Kord Industries and using that to help people as a greater. I could see him realizing that, yes, he's in the small sense, he's doing a lot, but he could do more if he focused on his business and used it to make big changes that affect the whole world.
You know, Ariel, there seems to be in comics, for a lot of comic fans, they seem to be on this whole kick of wanting to kill heroes so that other younger heroes could take over. And that's a bad, bad deal. And I'll tell you why. First of all, it's already been done. They've done it way too much. What you don't see is a lot of heroes who are willing to mentor. And like in real life, watching responsible men be responsible men to help raise younger men is what we need to have more of. And Ted should be a guy in his 30s because he's still young enough for Jaime and him to have kind of a connection in that sense. I mean, Jaime could look at what Ted has, access to all this money and everything else. Ted spends more time in the lab than he does being the CEO of a major tech company who could, you know, he's on the cover of different magazines. He's capable of doing other things, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
He spent so much time being a hero, he's forgotten how to have a real life. In much the same way that Alfred is on Batman or on Bruce Wayne's back about trying to have a life.
Yeah.
And Jaime, being someone in high school, could help to remind Ted what his life was like before he became a hero. Before his hero, the original Blue Beetle, Dan Garrett, died.
Yep.
That's where the death thing comes in. Dan Garrett's the dead guy. Ted Kord's the one who took over after him, mainly out of guilt. And you have the Scarab. And the difference was the Scarab didn't attach himself to Ted.
Yeah, he didn't have the right whatever.
Yeah. So Ted did experiments on the Scarab. He kept the Scarab safe, but he also experimented on the Scarab. And through all of the tests and experiments, was able to basically create a lot of the technology that allowed him to fight as the Blue Beetle and also help his family company become very successful. So in a way, Ted feels very responsible because, again, this is an alien device on a kid that didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
That's the other side to what Ted feels. Ted's a really deep down, he is a really good guy. He has the heart of the kind of hero that a lot more heroes should be like. You know, like almost like Clark Kent. Almost.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, he's a Boy Scout.
He's a Boy Scout of a sort. I mean, he could do that. I mean, there's nobody like Clark Kent.
No.
But Ted should be the guy who, you know, he's a smart guy, as I keep saying. But you could write it to where he's just gotten out of the habit of living the rest of his life. You know, and if you keep him in his 30s, you could have sort of a rapport. I mean, he's still young enough to do stuff. If Jaime's still in high school, you keep Ted in his early 30s, because if you make him 40s, it's a whole daddy issue thing. The thing is that Jaime's already got a dad. He doesn't need a dad.
Nope.
So aging him up too much, that creates situations. I wouldn't do that. I would age him down, keep him in his mid to early 30s.
And surprisingly,
that's how I would do
has
it.
a family they didn't kill off.
That's right. I wouldn't kill off Jaime. Again, there's all this whole, hey, he's a hero, we got to kill somebody off. You don't have to kill anybody off. You don't have to kill anybody off. Just get Jaime to understand you can have a life. It's just that what you plan for yourself has to include this thing in your body now. You know, you have the power to save people, and there's a responsibility to that. And I can help you with that.
Ariel, when they first introduced the new Blue Beetle 3, Jaime Reyes, in the comics, he was a teenager.
Yep.
He was in high school, dealing with high school stuff and dealing with being the Blue Beetle.
Yeah, they wanted their own version of Spider-Man. DC decided to take a character who already existed, and they wanted their own Spider-Man type characters. That's where they got Jaime from. And it was a chance to just basically have a teenager in high school who was a hero. That's where all that comes from. So my idea, quote unquote, would be to go back to that original idea and just do that.
Yeah.
You could mine a lot of really cool stories out of that, you know, and you get Ted Kord in there as being this guy who has the power to affect lives. He saved a lot of lives. He He saved the Earth so many times, and yet now, the Scarab's active again, and he begins to question what his purpose is, because he can't do that. Even at his best, with all the weapons and stuff that he created, with all the gadgets that he created, he could not keep up with what that Scarab could do.
No.
So in a sense, kind of like what Bruce was like in the Nolan movies, he sees an opportunity to scale back a bit. Because, again, he sees a responsibility, first of all, to Jaime as a person, as a young man. This young man had a life, and his life just changed dramatically. It would not do well for him to just go, well, you're the new guy, good luck, and leave. That's not Ted Kord.
No, that's not.
Ted would help him. If you ever saw The Greatest American Hero, it would be like if they had a new character and the previous person who had the suit were to just go, well, I guess you're the new one. I'll see you later. It's like, why just walk off?
Ted Kord is everything Batman should have been.
or Tony Stark should be.
Or Tony Stark's. Yeah, exactly. Tony Stark too.
He's a nice guy, Tony Stark. He's not going to try to sleep with every woman in your family.
Yeah.
You could almost say that he is a good-looking guy who, in my opinion, is slightly on the spectrum, because he focuses on problems, and he feels a lot of guilt. He's, in that respect, he's kind of like Peter Parker. There's a lot of guilt involved in his story. Guilt because his hero died. Guilt because he couldn't make the Scarab work, and he had to figure a workaround to that and still keep his promise to Dan Garrett, the original Blue Beetle, that he would keep the Scarab safe, but he would also continue to help people. And this is still all a part of that. Because what would Dan say if he had just, the Scarab had picked Jaime and Ted just went, well, I guess my job's done. I mean, what are you doing? This kid just had his life turned upside down. So Warner Brothers, and I direct this right at Ann Sarnoff, who is directly responsible for this. Responsible thing in trying to change how she put the movie together and what she was emphasizing. Anyway.
Well, the good part is we don't have to worry about her anymore.
Well, yeah, she got fired right off the bat. I was one of the first people that got fired from the all-new, all-better Warner Brothers. Thank goodness.
Zaslav walking in and said, yeah, you're fired. Clean your desk out.
Yep.
These gentlemen are here to walk you out.
Don't let the door hit you, or the good Lord split you. Yep. Okay. I
always heard where the sun don't shine, but
yours is better. Didn't mean to blaspheme. Anyway, it is.
We're at the 2-hour mark, so
yeah. So hopefully we've got a lot of you guys talking. Hopefully we said some very interesting things to give you guys to think about. And I just want to thank everyone for showing up today and for keeping the chat going. I mean, you guys have been fantastic. You know what? I think Warner Brothers definitely could use some help, but in the end, they're not as bad off as Disney is right now. I'm telling you, if you have not been following, Valiant Renegade, WDW Pro, Tom Connors, and everybody at Midnight's Edge, Andre.
Yep.
If you haven't been following what they've been talking about, oh, yeah. Whew, there's some incredible stuff coming. Get your popcorn, kids. This is going to be something to see.
Yep. Get
we
ready for
are
a
about
perp walk because you're going to get some.
You're about to see a major company kind of sort of implode. Whew. Anyway, I'm trying not look. I'm not celebrating what is about to happen. I'm just saying you got a bunch of people that may have broken the law. So,
Yeah.
you know, just a little bit of something there. But anyway, I digress.
FAFO. That should be everybody's mantra.
Yep. Freak around and find out.
Now, yep.
Oh, wow. Well, first and foremost, let me just say at the top here, I just want to thank Anima Confusa, Andy Morrow, Christian Delamore, Joseph Dredd, Laszlo Panaflex, of course, Petty, D. Bud Martin, Rob Altus, FKHC 2005, Our Muslim Uncle, Don Ranger Power, Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips, Hamdinger, Paulie at a Latino Slant, Jim Watari, Parrot Head, let's see, and Tom Connors for dropping by and being the cool guy that he is. And like Batman, he just came in, he left. Just like that, because he really is Bat Tom.
Yep. He's Bat Tom.
And, and of course, as always, my good buddy John, a.k.a. Das Wolfen, and Martin, for whom none of this would run correctly if we didn't have them.
Nope.
So, I have been your host, Keith. Have a better Friday, everybody.
Come on! I'm doing a show!